Hi guys, so a quick update regarding fritt gevär, or when shooting clubs in Sweden had their own rulebook. So a quick recap on how that works is that if a shooting club is part of a national shooting federation that is authorized from the Swedish police, they can have their own rulebook, and where they have their own kind of variant of whatever shooting sport they're trying to do, and an umbrella name for that is fritt gevär or free rifle, but it can vary between clubs on how they actually do this. So our history with this is, well, I'm gonna not go from the beginning, but back in 2017, after some court cases that gave us back the right which we always had to do this, I, together with the police department in Stockholm, so basically I just called them up for the police officer in charge of handling licensing in Stockholm, and talked to him. So what do I need to do as a chairman of my shooting club to get you to accept our rifles for our own rulebook? And he gave me a list of demands, and we met those demands way above what he asked for, because we're very serious about this with safety and rules and all that good stuff. And it wasn't an issue. Then we got our licenses, and we still get our licenses, but in Sweden the police are separate regions basically. So Stockholm and the island of Gotland is one region for some reason. Then we have Västra Götaland region with Gothenburg, and Uppsala region, for example, and we have members. One member who lived in Stockholm joined the club, and then he moved to Gothenburg, and he still comes up to Stockholm to compete with us, and he's still part of the club. So and another member in Uppsala, and Uppsala is very close to Stockholm, so that isn't an issue for him to be part of our trainings and competitions. Anyway, so what's been happening now is that from the police has centrally decided that every license for fritt gevär or free rifle, or a shooting club's own rulebook, for every license that someone applies for, they're going to have a meeting, and they're going to go through the shooting club and make sure it lives up to a list of arbitrary demands. And this isn't done with any other license. Like, I can go and buy a Ruger PC carbine on a hunting license, and they won't give a shit and just give it to me. If I want to buy the same rifle on our shooting club's own rulebook, they're gonna have to have a meeting, a central meeting for that region, and discuss the shooting club and shit. It's ridiculous. So for every license, and they also blame the coronavirus for not having those meetings, so the handling time of those licenses will be very, very long. So yeah, it's fucked up. So anyway, in Stockholm it hasn't been an issue, because they know us, and we're fairly well known in the Stockholm Police Department by now. I have a good relationship with that police department. I haven't yelled too much at those police officers lately, but yeah, at the moment we have a good relationship with them, and they're handling our licensing fairly good, without any issues. In Gothenburg, that member, I had to talk to the police in Gothenburg and tell them we have access to these shooting ranges, this is the schedule for competitions, and etc., and all the information they wanted to know. And we gave them a rule book and protocols from our board meetings and stuff like that that's applicable, so they know who's the chairman, who's the secretary, stuff like that. I just talked to the member in Gothenburg, and he's going to get his license. He hasn't gotten it yet, but it's probably in the mail, because he talked to the police handling his license application. And actually we got some compliments for having a very good rule book, and we made it super serious, no bullshitting at all, and because we are serious about the shooting sports in my club. So we got actually compliments on how well made it was. Now this paper in the background is from the police in Uppsala region. So our member there over there is getting what is called as a communication, or kommunicering in Swedish. What that means is that before they deny your application, they send out a little note where they tell you that we are considering denying your application for firearm X, and this is the reason why. So let's have a look at this. So first, communication and what they're intending to do, which is deny the application. Background is that he applied for a license for Saga MK103 for target shooting for a free rifle. And this is the law they quote. So you cannot only have a firearm for an acceptable reason, and that should perhaps be that could be hunting, target shooting, or collecting, for example. And this is for target shooting, so that's fine. And this says that you can only get the firearm if it's meant for the purpose that the permit is for. So, for example, if you're applying for a hunting license, like a 22 long rifle, and you intend to hunt moose with it, that's not okay. Or if you're applying for a hunting, so hunting rifles have specific rules regarding them. So you have to have I think it's 47 centimeters long barrel or 18 inches. If you apply for like an MP5 for hunting, that's not going to happen. So yeah, and for target shooting, this part, what it's meant for, is handled by the rule book that the shooting club or the shooting federation has set down. So that's okay, because this rifle is perfectly okay for this. A lot of people in my shooting club has this specific rifle, and this is what was specific for target shooting. So this says that the shooting club has to do shooting with this kind of firearm that the application is for, which we do, and we did that last weekend at the last time. And so what happens is the individual that wants the firearm sends in an application to the police, and then the shooting club sends in a paper called föreningsintyg, which is like a shooting club. I don't know what intyg is in English. Well, anyway, it's a note that says this guy with personal details wants this rifle with the exact details of the rifle that he applied for. He's going to use it for this thing, and he has a need for it. We authorize the need for the rifle according to our shooting rule book and all that. And we say that this rifle is perfectly okay for this rule book. We cite the rule and all that stuff. It's an awkward process that I have to do for every firearm in the shooting club, which is hundreds by now, and it takes a while to print the paper, sign the paper, scan the papers, mail the papers. Yeah, you get it. And it has to be 18 years of age, blah 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 blah, and yeah, and it's by the board of the shooting club. So what we do is, when we have a board meeting, we have a list of applicants for this little note to the police from us, and we go through them, because we have certain rules they have to apply to in the club. They have to be active. They have to have so we demand that the member has been part of the club for 6 months. That's a legal requirement. And then that they're actually active, so they have a need, so you can't just join, wait 6 months and then apply. You have to be active a certain amount of times and all that. And we make sure we know everyone personally, so no asshole don't join the club and all that. So we take our responsibility very seriously. And then if all that is okay, the board says okay, and then I is delegated the responsibility to actually write this paper and send it in. So I did it for this guy. He's a nice guy, no fishy person at all. And yeah, so I told the police that he needs this rifle for this specific rule in our rule book, and then the trouble started. So they have looked at our rule book and said, basically they're complaining about our rules being too specific. So 7 different parts of 7 different classes from 7 different gun types. And then those can be divided into smaller, like iron sights, optics, magnified optics. Like if you want to shoot just iron sights, you can do that. And if you want another rifle for having a red dot, you can have that, etc. Or if you want a magnified optic. And then we do competitions with different classes, and so people can compete each other with where they are. So not like a guy with iron sights competes against someone with a magnified optic. That would be a bit unfair, right? Same with someone with a 22 long rifle competing against someone with like a 308. That would be ridiculous. The 22 long rifle would always win, depending on the distance, of course, but one of our shooting ranges are only 50 meters, so a 22 long rifle would be owning the 308 at that range. So anyway, so that's why we divided it up like that. So they say, in principle, according to the rulebook, you can use any semi-auto rifle without any limiting of ammunition capacity or barrel length, which is true if it fits into this class and this weapon type, and they don't like that. And this is hilarious because this rulebook is much more detailed compared to the Handgun Shooting Federation in Sweden. They have a class called A3, I believe, or is it A1? Something. And basically any kind of handgun, regardless of almost, you cannot have it too short or too long, but basically any kind of handgun, any kind of caliber up to, I don't know, they won't give you a license for a 50 something caliber handgun, is allowed in that rule book. And they are shitting all over us here because we actually specified and made it specific. Oh, god damn it. And they are actually arguing that from these reasons it's very hard to say if the firearm model is okay for the purpose. It is okay for the purpose. It is so specific. And it's funny that the one hand of the police gives us shit like this, and the other hand of the police actually gives us credit for being good at writing a rule book. How's that for equal onto the law? This is Swedish police being assholes. And the sad thing is that the Uppsala region used to be the best one for firearms licensing. And now they give us this shit. So I'm going to help this member write an answer to this. But the Swedish police doesn't have any incentive to change their mind. And it's obviously going to go prestige into this for them. And they're gonna make up some bullshit reason to deny this application anyway. So yeah, if you live in Uppsala, move away from Uppsala. If you like sport shooting, that is. Okay, so just so you know, anyone with a rule book, your own rule book for your shooting club, this is what's going on right now, and Uppsala is very bad about it, apparently. I don't know how you would appease the Uppsala police. I've tried to contact them. They won't answer my calls or my emails. They're making themselves unavailable. So, and that's actually against the law. They are supposed to be helpful and tell us if you change this and that, we will allow the rule book. But they don't, because they don't want to allow it, because apparently an Saiga MK103 is very scary. That's what I believe is the real reason. Okay, I'm rambling. Have a nice day, and now you guys are updated. Where's my mouse key?